Welcome to Season 5 of the Founders Only podcast, where we uncover the pivotal trials and triumphs in the stories of great founders, delivering actionable advice on how to be the leader of the pack. Today, I am so excited to welcome Garrett Mehrguth. He is the founder and CEO of Directive Consulting, a top-performing marketing agency with a global presence. With over a decade of experience, Garrett has led Directive's expansion into international markets, achieving an impressive 300% year-over-year growth. He's a respected thought leader in this industry, and he has contributed insights and leading publications and spoken at renowned events worldwide. So thank you again for joining me today.
I gotta get a small, quicker intro, but yeah, glad to be here. How you doing?
Yes, well, we're definitely gonna dig deep into your background. So I think your intro will be expanded on significantly in this conversation. But let's start with sharing your journey to how you became the founder of Directive.
Yeah, I mean, I never really worked nowhere. I was trying to play pro soccer, and then I think it was like probably my junior year. So I did my degree in 3 years in economics, and then my fourth year I did my master's. And those like summers, I was always trying to get internship at like McKinsey, Boston, Bain, Deloitte, like consulting firms. I don't remember which ones or not, but I never got into nothing. Nobody wanted me. I couldn't even get a job at Northwestern Mutual. I mean, I thought that would be pretty easy. So I was just ended up being on Fiverr, like doing social media calendars for $5 for people, and then I was doing some freelance work with like random small business owners I met. I had a finance, like a REIT, like a commercial real estate guy, and then I had an executive search guy, and I was doing like basic marketing. I wasn't very good, I guess, to be honest. I was pretty hardworking, but I wasn't very experienced or talented yet. And then I essentially just was selling stuff on Fiverr. And then one day there was a shawarma shop in like East LA where I went to school. And I asked him if he needed help with marketing because I liked his food. So I made him like a Yelp and a Facebook, and I was handing out flyers at like the 24-hour fitness forum. I did that. That was my very first Directive client.
Wow.
And then I went to get my check on the 30th day. He said, come back tomorrow. And the whole place was boarded up and he was gone. So that was my very first client. And yeah, I kind of just bootstrapped Directive from Fiverr. And then after that, I got a hookah lounge. I built him a WordPress site, but I don't know how to program. So I was like on Divi, like asking all the people in the forum questions. And then he asked me if I could rank his WordPress site. I said, I'd never done it before, but I could probably figure it out. So I watched all the Whiteboard Fridays from Moz. I read all the blog posts. And then next thing you know, he was ranking number 1. His hookah lounge was full. And I was like, this is pretty cool. You know, I was charging like $200 a month, I think, back then. And I saw the power of it. And then my best friend, who's my roommate, he said his dad had a plumbing business and I should talk to him. So I talked to him, and then I got his dad like from 1 truck to 3 trucks, and he was booming. And he was like, all right, you're pretty good at this. And I was like, you should join me. And then him and I started to grow it even more from there. And yeah, then next thing you know, we're here.
So you got some major lessons in the early days. Okay. So
I still get them every day. The lessons never stop.
Oh no, the lessons never stop. But that one you just dropped was woo! That's the tough first client right there. Okay.
I still got the contract over there though with the oil stains and everything.
Did you ever find him again? I mean, we need to know what happened. Did you see the owner?
No, you know, I had access to his Facebook page. I had access to his Yelp. I really just focused on me. You know, I think one of the biggest things you can do is like, you know, in agencies, there's such a people business, from the people that work for you, the people who work with you, the people you serve. You get caught up on any of them instead of yourself. You know, you're really just forgetting all that matters, right? And the way I look at anything is the only thing that stops me is me. And so if I give people power over my thoughts, over my energy, over my drive, and they distract me from my goals, that I underperform. And so for me, it's just like, control what I can control and then just try to get a little better every day and just keep pushing, you know?
So how old were you when this happened? Because though you're talking definitely some elder advice that you just gave. So
Yeah.
did you
I
know
don't
that
know.
at I mean, you how old were you
Yeah.
then?
I had good parents. I was 21.
Wow. And so where are you from originally?
Orange County, California.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So who were you before? So you went to school for economics. Why did you pick economics?
I just thought it was harder. Business was kind of easy, and I didn't really. I liked all the books on economics, so I like to read. So like, I had this weird thing where like, like when you do SATs, they kind of tell you like where you like and what percentile you were.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up being the 99th percentile on reading comprehension, and I was homeschooled my whole life, and so I didn't realize it, but I can read pretty decent, I guess. I don't know if that's a superpower or what, but I like to read things. And so like when in school they give you the textbooks,
Yep.
I like to read the textbooks. And
Mm-hmm.
so like a lot of people like I wasn't that good at the test, but I always knew like the subject matter like at a more like intimate level. I'm not so good with memorization, so I was never like good at the sciences and like the math stuff as much. But I was really strong with modeling and how conditional logic worked, and then how like theories and ideas and like thoughts work, if that makes any sense. So I really liked economics. I thought it was challenging.
My degree was in economics as well.
Really, that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I like being bad at things. To be honest, I think that's fun.
For me, I was like really liked the subject matter, which I was surprised that
Yeah.
I did actually in school. But then when I got to senior year and I was like, ooh, am I going to get a master's degree in this? I don't think so. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is, yeah, I liked the subject matter, but not enough for it to be my lifetime career.
Yeah.
So, who were you before you became an entrepreneur? Like, what type of person were you? What, what did you like to do? How did you spend your time as a kid?
Oh, I just trained for soccer because that's what I wanted to be, So I trained twice a day, and then I was always running businesses. So on the weekends, I was always kind of like a very simple person. I still am. It's like, what do I enjoy? What do people think I'm good at? And then, how can I make some money? And so when I was younger, I did things mostly around sports. So I would referee on the weekends. I worked at a soccer shop. My mom would drop me off because I was too young to drive, but I'd run the whole store. Owner would leave, and I just ran the store. And then I had a private training business for soccer. And so I worked at the store because then every time a mom or a dad would bring their kid in, I'd hand them my business card, my flyer to try to get them to do the private lessons with me. And then I used to go to like the fields, like I go to Costco and I buy all the stuff in bulk, and then I would just mark it up, like
Mm-hmm.
sell it to people on the table. So my mom would like just drop me off at the park, and then I would bring my table out and I'd run it all, and then she'd pick me up. So I kind of always just did stuff like that, I guess. I never really thought about it much, but I did an interview with somebody a few days ago, and they asked a similar question. And I was like, yeah, I guess I was always kind of doing stuff like that. So yeah, I was always
So,
kind of hustling and stuff
so
there.
how old were you when you had your first business?
I don't know. My memory's so bad, but I couldn't have been. I'm probably around 12,
Okay. Okay.
like 10 or 12, right? Maybe younger. I don't know, right around there. Yeah.
What did your parents do?
My dad did custom cabinets for like 27 years. He was like blue collar. And my mom homeschooled me. She'd stay home with mom. And then before that, she was a like pretty high up in a PR firm. She's pretty hardworking and smart. And then she homeschooled me. And then I think when I was about 8 or so, my dad sold that company. But those businesses aren't like big, successful exits. But he had a really strong quality of product and really good service and all that. But it was more a blue collar type, like make custom cabinets for people business. And then he sold it, and then we became full time missionaries right before the '08 crash or whatever that was. Yeah. And so then my parents have been missionaries ever since. So, I've been kind of financially on my own since I was 18. So we didn't really grow up with like, a lot, but we
Mm-hmm.
worked real hard and, good values. And I think that's what matters.
So when you went to school in LA, Did
Yeah.
you stay there, or where do you live now?
I live in Orange now, in Orange County.
Okay.
But no, up there, yeah, I would stay up there because the rent was cheaper. So I lived in Azusa for 4 years. And I would just rent up there, and then I would work in the summer. So like I had a lot of odd jobs, so I had probably like four, five, maybe five, six, seven jobs when I started Directive because I would tear down chapel, so put all like the chairs away after the chapel that they did there. So it was like facilities management. I did all the football teams laundry. I had a full ride for soccer. I worked in the cafeteria some, and then I worked at the Chamber of Commerce in Azusa, and then I worked on Fiverr, and then I had those two independent contracting gigs. And then in the summer, I would work up there as well. Like I would work with facilities management. I'd clean all the dorms. You just kind of go like room by
Mm-hmm.
room, floor
Mm-hmm.
by floor. So yeah, I was always just working on something.
Hmm. So, what is your superpower? What would you say?
I could just get hit in the face and keep going.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds
Uh,
like it. And we know that running an agency, that is definitely a great superpower to have, for
yeah,
sure.
I can chew glass, live in the mud. I can just smile and wave.
Mm-mm-mm. So I've heard you talk about the importance of focusing on the customer in agency pitch meetings. So can you tell
Yeah.
me a little bit more about your perspective on that and how that plays out both in pitch meetings and when the engagement actually starts?
Yeah, I feel like when you're doing marketing, a lot of people I think have like a mental block on how they're able to like role play, maybe. So I think about it, it's like I can kind of like chameleon my mind to see things from like a different perspective. Maybe not always in real time, but like when I'm doing the consultant for sure. And so, I'll try to figure out like from a humility standpoint, I even do it in my own agency is like, would I pay more for this? Like, do I like this experience? It's like when you're doing a pitch, right? A lot of you do is an audit. At least we do. We try to do a ton of free work for every pitch. It's sort of like we're getting access to their accounts. We're trying to dive in and create enough value that they want to hire us, right? And so when I'm doing that, I usually try to just be their customer and be really honest and direct about, hey, like I filled out your demo. I got no confirmation email. Nobody followed up with me for 3 days. I know you've been trying to figure out why business is down, but I got a couple ideas. And hey, like I looked for best ERP software. You're nowhere to be found. Like on G2, Capterra, Software Advice, Google Ads, Organic. It's like, so I just try to keep it real with people in the sense of like, what's it like? A lot of people do their marketing within the platform. And what I try to do is be the consumer of the marketing and ask myself if I would choose them and just keep my mind
Yes.
really basic. So that's usually how I try to look at things.
Absolutely agree. That is definitely something I try to share internally with our team too. Like everybody is a customer. We're all customers. We're all
Yeah.
buying something. I think I don't know why it's so difficult for so many marketers to just pretend like they're a customer. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be
No.
hard. I mean, we're all human. We all have emotions and we all buy. So those are the things that we're paying attention to, right? In the experience,
Yeah.
obviously. So okay, so does that approach, which is fantastic, that you do that on the front end in the pre-sales process, how or does that play into once they're a customer? Do you have any other tactics that are unique to Directive that are more focused on the once the customer is your customer, once the client is your client, that represents that same thinking, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly like I think in SEO it comes up a lot because with SEO, there's this kind of concept of this question is like where everybody's trying to ask a very simple question, which is when someone looks for the product or service we sell, is our website discoverable? And what I do is I flip that question a little bit and I say, when someone looks for the product or services you sell, is your brand discoverable? And by changing your POV from website to brand, it unlocks review sites, it unlocks Reddit, it unlocks the ecosystem of discovery. In other words, how people buy things, right? Through their own research and through their own discovery. And so what I'm always just trying to do is find an edge on how I look at something, because then it changes my behaviors and it creates differentiation.
Absolutely. Okay, you just answered my next question, I think. But so, what do you think is the secret to Directive's success, particularly around differentiating yourself in such a saturated market?
Yeah, I mean, now it looks easier because we're the biggest, I guess, in the sense that like, everything's easier when you're the biggest. And not just for me and my marketing, but like in marketing in general, like when I do all the marketing for Gong. When I do more Gong's marketing, everything works because Gong's a great business with a great product, with a great price. They're a phenomenal company. If I do all the marketing for GetGang.ai, nothing works. It doesn't make me a bad marketer, right? Like, I think that's the humility I've learned in my career of doing marketing. It's like I now have the blessing that all my marketing works, but that's just because I get to work with the biggest and the baddest. And so, and it doesn't have to always be the biggest. It can be a local business, but like if you got the local business that everybody's heard of, and then you do SEO, it works better than if you got the local business nobody heard of. And so it's not that marketing can't work for startups and smaller, well-known companies. It just doesn't work as well, as cheaply, as quickly. And so the biggest thing that makes Directive different is just the values and the work ethic and the visibility. So we track the results attainment of every single solitary client, and we review it as an executive team monthly, and then we have leaderboards public every day. And so we track what percent of clients are hitting their, we call it North Star metric, but like their goal. What percent of middle managers across their portfolio are hitting their goals. We do CSAT surveys, I think 6 times a year at different stages of the journey. Those all go into performance reviews, raises, and things like that for the team members. So we make ourselves very client centric here, and we tie it back into our compensation and into our review system. And we try, with me having a sports background and kind of a team background, I'm a very competitive person, and so I've found that in a remote culture, especially in a bigger organization, that like you have to have these like visibility systems that create peer-based accountability. In other words, I don't want to work harder because of my boss. I want to work harder because I want to beat Jim. And I think that visibility systems are a huge part of our success in the sense of sustaining the success.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody and their mom at one point becomes a big agency that then realizes they don't quite got what it takes because it's so hard. And I think the reason we've been able to sustain our success, especially in B2B SaaS, where you've seen a lot of, agencies get kind of big and then collapse and then, pivot or get out of it, especially right now we're in a recession. So I would say, just our culture, our values, our work ethic, and our visibility systems has been able to keep us going in these tough environments.
When you're talking about visibility systems, just to be clear, you're talking about internal visibility to motivate your team to
Yeah,
be
and to hold them
competitive.
accountable, yeah, when
Mm-hmm.
needed, and
Mm-hmm.
to honor the customer. Because just
Mm-hmm.
think about, the bigger you get all these non-billable or partially billable folks and middle managers, directors, VPs, SVPs, COOs. You got all these layers, right? And in those layers, it's very like agencies die when serving the agency becomes more important than serving the customers. And it's really easy. Once you cross 10 million, I find that these agencies all fall off. They lose their edge. They become financial instruments with no soul. It's like the outcomes they create no longer matter. The paycheck's great, but you just take people's money and play marketing. You don't matter. You're not doing anything. It's not real. And so for me, I'm really passionate about keeping our soul and having the pride and being able to answer the basic question, which is like, if someone from your family wanted to hire your agency, could you at random give them to any of your consultants and not be worried about your reputation?
I
If the
like it.
answer is no, you aren't as good as you could be.
I like that very much. Ooh. So I think, you kind of touched on it before a little bit about brand recognition helping to facilitate or accelerate growth, right?
Yeah.
How two-part question. First is, how do you know that a client or a potential client, would be an even better question, that a potential client has found product market fit? That's the first part of the question.
You heard of them before? Like, we got enough market share. I got like, what, 130 something accounts, all B2B SaaS. So at this point, I kind of think a lot of the times I've got three of the biggest players in a vertical. So I usually kind of know what's what to a certain
Mm-hmm.
extent.
Mm-hmm.
But usually, if you haven't heard of them, they don't got product market fit. And then you can usually tell pretty quickly just through their information architecture. They usually lack a sense of substance or depth to their product pages, to their platform. Their pricing is not that clear. The hardest companies in the world to service are ones that have a CEO that keeps pivoting.
Mm. Ooh,
You
okay.
know, like
Yes.
we got with one company, I won't say they are, but they're one of the biggest travel expense companies. And they wanted to pivot. I was working with one of the largest outbound sales software companies, if not the largest outbound sales software company, and they wanted to compete with Gong. They want to pivot. What happens in SaaS is these organizations a lot of times, and these are the ones that do have product market fit, they have the same problem, which is they have product market fit, and then they want to raise another round, so they try to become platform market fit. In other words, they have this product that got them to where they are, but to raise more capital, they need to evolve to something they've never been. We get hired a lot in this moment, and it's a very hard moment to be successful because you're so dependent on a vision that's never occurred, and you actually leave product market fit in pursuit of platform market fit, and that's the most dangerous thing in the world. So usually, though, you can tell they don't have product market fit because you never heard of them. Their website's kind of the content's kind of the whole thing's kind of You kind of know pretty quick if you do it all day, every day.
So when you're talking about, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness.
But you know what I mean? Like, let's say, I'll let you catch it. But let's say you've heard of Lululemon, right?
Right.
Yeah, but if some other case, so who are the players in, let's say, women's apparel, and now it's men's too, but you got like Aloe, you got Athleta, you got
Athleta. Yeah.
Viore, you got
Right.
Lululemon.
Right.
If you come across against Lululemon and you never heard of them, they don't got product market fit. That's kind of my point. Is like, that's how just like other people know basic industries, I kind of know SaaS like that. And so each space kind of has these players, right, that have established themselves. And if you never heard of them and they don't have all that infrastructure, you go to their LinkedIn, they got 16 employees, you're like, okay, this is going to be a little tougher, right?
So how would you advise if a client asked you, or potential client, I keep saying it,
Yeah.
prospect asked you, how do I know that I found product market fit? So they may be in an earlier stage and may not have the
Yeah.
brand recognition yet, especially in comparison to market leaders. So what are the indicators for you that now, I do think you kind of touched on this a little bit in terms of talking about the messaging, whether the value proposition is clear, whether the content is substantial enough to support that. Is there any
Yeah.
other indicators that are a little just more like to the point, you have not found product market fit or you have it?
Yeah, I mean, churn is down and CAC is down and close rates up. So in general, it's like product market fit isn't for us to determine, it's for our customers.
Yes.
Like, in other words, like, we don't determine that we have product market fit. The market decides that they want our product, and then it becomes a fit. And so for me, it's more based around like how we, as business owners, it's like we have to have our KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
When we start beating our KPIs, we usually got product market fit creates momentum. It
Mm-hmm.
creates a feeling. It creates hiring. It creates investment. It creates profit. It creates opportunity. It creates top line revenue growth. And so when your business is moving like that, that's when you want to kind of reinvest and build upon. And if it's not moving, you don't got it, because essentially you're selling something that people don't want to buy.
That's yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So you've advocated for businesses to prioritize efficiency over effectiveness. What does that mean?
Well, I would say it's the opposite. So I advise people to focus on effectiveness first, efficiency second. And so what that means is this concept of like, people love to like half-ass their bets. They just love to do it. I don't understand it. It's never made sense to me. I think it's because my brain's a little broken and I don't like ever have like self-doubt. And that's not out of choice. Like it just doesn't enter my brain. I got lucky, I guess, or
Yes,
blessed
you
or
definitely
cursed.
did. That's happening.
Because that never, it's not, I don't ever have to overcome myself, if that makes any sense. Like, there's no internal obstacle. So I'm a little bit blind to this. So it's not to be judgmental on others. Like, I genuinely have something where I don't think I can't do something. I'm not like overcoming or I'm not trying to be anything. I'm just literally existing. But those thoughts, for whatever reason, I don't have. I got lucky, I guess. But what I would say is most people, it really comes when you do new things. Like, let me give you a couple examples, right? Someone will want to figure out LinkedIn ads for their business. So they're going to really stretch themselves and they're going to spend $3,000 on it this month. Well, that ain't enough. But for them, they're like trying to be efficient before they ever earn being effective.
Okay.
So whenever I do anything, I try to make sure that the concept wasn't bastardized by my execution, my investment, or my belief, or my timeline. Because what happens in business is we don't have that many good ideas. So if you do it long enough, you're like, well, all these things didn't work. The problem is a lot of them could have worked, but you made some basic mistakes. What are some of the basic mistakes? Some of the basic mistakes are like setting a timeline for a marketing or sales campaign that's shorter than your sales cycle. People love to do that. You'll be talking to somebody like, how long is your sales cycle? They're like 6 months. I'm like, all right, cool. And they're like, how long did you run Google Ads for? They're like 2 months. It didn't work. I'm like, wait a second, like, time out. We're talking crazy right now. What do you mean it didn't work? Right? We have other people, like, we have a startups business unit that's been really successful at Directive, but some of the startups are so nascent to marketing. Like, we had one organization that spent $10 a day so they get one click, and then they were like, it's not working. I'm like, well, I'm only getting one click. It'll never work, you know? And so what I try to encourage people is like, be sequential in your bets. The depth of your execution is more important than the breadth of your activity. So go deep and then don't do multiple things. So let's say we want to unlock a new marketing channel. And I coach agency owners for a living. I got like 8 different people I coach right now. And they bring you the stuff, right? And a lot of them come to me and they got 8 ideas. I'm like, well, let's do them one by one. I'm like, you don't have to work less. I'm not lowering your ambition. I'm telling you everything I wish someone told me 8 years ago, which is if you boil the ocean, the water doesn't get any hotter. And we got to stay real focused on one thing at a time and know if it worked or didn't. And then before we leave it as a founder, we have to backfill our authority. And so it's kind of like riding a roller coaster. You go real deep on something, you figure out that it's effective and it works. You hire your replacement and assign authority, and then you get out of it and it becomes efficient. And then you dive deep on the next one. So you can always still be building, but you just have to be wise in your transition planning so that if you're not going to operate, you pay enough for someone else too. And if you get disciplined like that, you can keep scaling your wins.
Okay. I like this. I feel like this is another example of this, a little bit different instance, if you will, or example. But this is also reflective in running a process manually and working out the kinks before you automate it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's this idea that like the stupidest advice we all get is like hire smart people and get out of their way. It's like, no. You hire smart people and you create a structure for them to be successful so you're blameless as their leader, right? So what resources do they need? How much time do they need? What type of support and air cover do they need from you? What kind of structure do they need in their administrative focus so that they can be more creative in their day-to-day? So like, I try to think about it as how can I be and empower and accelerate my direct reports while also driving down accountability and ownership for what they're owning. But that doesn't like, there's this like weird fear of micromanagement, which has then bastardized any sense of management. In other words, they're like, it's like these two extremes of like, you're either a micromanager and a hover cop, hover parent, hover executive, or you're clueless.
Right.
But there is a line in the middle, which is that you have regular cadence of meetings, you have proper KPIs and targets, you have a strong visibility systems and reporting cadence and structure. And not every exec you hire that's their core strength. So sometimes you have to develop that out of them
Right.
and do more of that for them so they can still be in their zone of genius, right? And so it's just that, every one of your direct reports needs a different style of leadership and management to unlock their full potential. But that should be our goal as leaders, is to unlock our people.
How do you do that? How do you unlock them? Do you use like a personality test or something in the hiring or onboarding stage to kind of get a sense of what they need in order to, or how to best coach them to unlock their zone of excellence?
Yeah, I mean, we do all that. I don't personally lean on those. I have a lot of guys I coach that do that a lot. I just call them on my cell phone every day. And we just talk. We do life together. I mean, it's no different than any other relationship. If you put the time in, you start to care about them more. You start to
Yeah.
understand them more. And if you're a good leader and a good coach, I think you can figure out what motivates them. If you don't know, you can ask them. You'll be amazed. They'll tell you. To me, it's like, if you ever taken a personality assessment, it always comes back spot on. And what I think is interesting about that is people are actually more self-aware of their strengths than we give them credit for. We just sometimes forget that.
Okay, I like that too. So let me ask you a completely
I'm
random
so
question.
simple. I'm sorry, Mia. I'm like such a
No, you
simple
don't have to
guy. I'm just like, I
apologize.
don't know. I spend a lot of time with
Yeah,
them.
no, I mean, hey, a lot of times the best answer is the simplest one. So no apologies needed there. Random question. I was
Yeah.
thinking about this yesterday. Do you equate business growth with revenue growth?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to, or else what are you judging yourself by? So, the way I kind of see everything is it didn't work if it doesn't show up on my P&L. And that means culture, that means anything. It always shows up on the P&L, right? So, let's think about an agency. The number one reason you churn customers in an agency is due to transitions.
Okay.
In other words, they love Jimmy. Jimmy was on the account. Jimmy quits, goes to a different agency, goes in-house. They get Sally, and they're frustrated because they spend all this time with Jimmy, and they don't like Sally. They want to be with Jimmy. Jimmy's gone. We're going to find a new agency. It happens every day. So, like a Directive, I have a full-time employee. Their only job is transitions, right? How do we make something that we know sucks? And that's the thing with being an agency owner is if you get really honest with yourself and you kill your ego, at least in your own internal dialogue, we can't usually kill our ego with how other people work with us, but we can kill our ego hopefully with ourselves. And if you can do that, you can see things clearly from the outside looking in. And so if you think about what sucks about hiring an agency, right? You can start to fund solutions for the repeatable problems, right? Like transitions are never going to stop in an agency. Hiring's never going to stop in an agency. But how many agency owners have recruiters full-time in-house? They're a talent business, yet they're underinvested in the acquisition and development of their talent, right? They're a consulting business who knows they have transitions, but they have no full-time employee to own the transitions. So if you kind of just look at the areas of opportunity in your business, they're usually repeatable and frustrating for your customer. And if you fund the ownership and the accountability and the solving of it in the day-to-day, you start to unlock the growth. And you know where that shows up? It shows up on your P&L because you have a more sustainable business. And the reason more sustainable is you have lower churn. And when you have lower churn, it shows up. Same thing with your employees, right? So if you have less employee churn, that means you have less in transitions, which means you should have a higher renewal rate, which means new business goes more to EBITDA and it drives you forward. So the P&L is the ultimate decider of success.
Okay. What is the hardest lesson you've learned as a founder?
So I'm still learning. It's like, how do like right now, Directive, we have what's called a consultant's code. So it's a little inside baseball, but we have what's called a consultant's code here. It's my emergency brake. It's my way of protecting the people from the agency's ambition. Because what happens as you get big, you get further and further away.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to create rules. And then you have all these people underneath you that have their own KPIs and their goals. And sometimes those KPIs and goals are antithetical to your culture, but are in alignment with your P&L,
Mm.
right? So think about like a private equity backed agency or business in general. Private equity buys businesses for cash flow and EBITDA. They're trying to return cash to the partners. Well, the best thing you can do for your EBITDA is underhire because you have lower cost of goods sold, your gross margin goes up, and it all flows through the bottom line.
Yep.
The worst thing you can do for your culture is give people too many accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Quality of work goes down. The right people want to feel like they have enough time to not let down their own potential.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they have a deep sense of pride for their own work and they resent the organization if they don't have enough time to do the work they desire for what they believe is ethical and right for what someone paid for. Those are the best people in the world. But your business will accidentally abuse them in its pursuit of its own profit and goals. And so we have things like the consultants code where we have to pull e-breaks. Even like 4 hours ago, I discovered that some people had more clients than they're allowed to have. So I ran an off-cycle bonus to those people. I had to apologize. We're pausing sales into their business units until it's fixed. And the only way anyone ever believes that your values are real is if you put your values over your profits. And if you do, I think you can be sustainable for a long time.
Okay, that was a gold nugget right there. Put the values over the profits. Ooh, I really like that, Garrett. I really like that.
Yeah.
What is one book, podcast, or resource that has profoundly impacted your perspective and mindset as a founder?
I try to read them all. At some point, I feel like I read all the business books. I know there's new ones and stuff, but I've tried to read all of them. I got a lot of them that I really like. I thought some of those that were really impactful was like Who. It's a hiring book. It's by I think Jeff Smart.
Okay.
Um, there's another one called Good to Great that I
Yep.
always really liked. I read Contagious when I was just starting in marketing. It's great. Profit First is really strong as a book. All the stuff by Winning by Design is really good. They do a lot on sales process and stuff. I like books where I can buy them for everyone involved, and we all can like that, and they have this like applicable sense to them of like we can follow their methodology and then
Like
apply it.
textbook style.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy that stuff. There's so many. I haven't been
Yeah.
reading as much lately as I did before because like I felt like I went through all the lists, unfortunately. And I know that sounds probably stupid because I'm sure there's more. But I like the Ben Horowitz books. I'm looking at them right now because I have so many. Honestly, like anything that like what I try to do is anytime so when I get into anything new in my life, I try to consume more information around that subject, not than others, but just as much as I can personally. So, like I love get from being bad at things to good at things. And I can do that with like anything. And I guess if you asked earlier what's my superpower, it's probably that. So like I could go play golf and I'll be shooting 120. And then I broke 80 in like 6 or 9 months. But
Mm-hmm.
all I did was go to the driving range every day, putt 50 times, chip 50 times. But if you're a disciplined person and you do that every day, you get better. Right. And then you play a lot of golf. It was like, so like, let's say I want to get better at recruiting. Well, I start calling everyone that I think is good at recruiting, ask them questions, ask for advice. I buy every book on recruiting. I reach out. I just obsess myself with the consumption of information, like fishing. I'm trying to get better at. So I watch YouTube videos every night. I've now read, I think, every book I could find on the fishing. I watch every YouTube video. I hire every captain who specializes in every species, and I take disciplined notes, and then I go out on my own and I practice. I'm just obsessive about consuming information, if that makes any sense.
And distilling it and applying it so that you can change your level of
I had a
excellence with
motto in
it.
my life, and that's how I started Directive. It was called Learn, Engage, Create. So the concept was if I could learn something new every day and like really engage with it and apply it, like not just read the book on this tactic, but actually test the tactic and implement it and try it, that I could create more value for myself and my customers every day. So I came up with that when I was like 21. And I've been trying to do it ever since.
Okay. How, what do you have, I mean, you're married with children. How many do you have
I have
children
3 kids
or?
under 5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They're
Okay.
under 4. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then my last question is, what does your day look like?
It depends. I've been trying to be more focused on the kids lately, and it's been really cool. But I'll wake up at 6:30 and then I'll work out with them at my home gym. So they like to come work out with dad. So we'll go like run around the neighborhood and then we'll go, I'll teach them how to squat or deadlift or whatever, but they're just doing it with air or whatever. So hang out with them in the morning and then I usually work from like 7-ish to like where I'm on to like 5-ish, where it's just like non-stop, like the world could burn and don't matter, I'm in it. And then I hang out with them and just like play sports with them and like activities or whatever. Maybe my daughters want to like build something. One of my daughters is like more like engineering kind of mindset and doesn't like sports. And my son likes sports. My youngest likes sports. So I do different things with them. And then we put them down and then I hang out with my wife. I don't normally work more after that. It just depends on the day, but my brain's always going. So I'm always just taking notes on my phone. And then I usually just wake up the next morning and like execute against all my notes. So I kind of work 24/7. But like when it comes to like no distractions on and like button pushing, I'm usually like 7 to 5. And then date night every Thursday with my wife. So
That date
yeah.
night is key. That date
And
night
I
is
try to fish
key.
on Sundays and then Saturdays family. Yeah.
Okay. Where can people find you on social? Where can they find the websites, all the things?
Yeah, directiveconsulting.com. If you're a B2B or software company looking for an agency, we got a startup package that's pretty cool and affordable. And then we got some mid-market enterprise like services. And then GarrettMehrguth.com. I coach agency owners and CEOs. And I have a course as well that takes you through how I run sales, finance, marketing, people ops, operations for a $25 million plus company, and kind of give everything away. It's a pretty cool course.
How many, I forgot to ask, how many people do you currently have at Directive right now?
I don't know, probably like around 150 or so globally. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know the exact number, but I used to pay attention to that a lot more. Lately, I'm more like on the P&L stuff, but right around 150. We had a tough year. Last year was really hard. Just servicing software when Silicon Valley Bank collapsed. I think I had about like a 36% of all invoices were exposed to them. So that plus no funding, it was a pretty tough year. We still grew about 3%. So I was laughing at that 300. I was like, that was the year before. I'll take that out. But, it was a tougher one, but, it's going back and getting better right now. We just got to keep up with the labor markets. It's like once the market kind of comes back, everything gets tough. But yeah, you can find me directconsulting.com or GarrettMehrguth.com. And yeah.
You don't have any intentions of pivoting then, right? You're going to stick with B2B SaaS. You're going to ride
Nah,
it
only
out.
the strong survive.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation and got as many gold nuggets as I did. We'll see you next time, you guys.